As you'll notice in front of me, we have our RO Touch application open. This is the iPad application or Android application, whichever application you decide to use. This will work for either one. You'll notice on the screen it's asking for our username and password. And if this is the first time that we were setting this application up, we'd want to go ahead and make sure we entered a data location as well. I'm going to go ahead and click on the data location. Now you'll notice that it's asking for a username, password again, and then it's going to ask for the data location. Now the data location is going to either be one of two things, either the PC that we installed RWriter Touch on, or if you're enabled port forward and you're using this remotely, you would have an IP address of your external network or possibly even a DNS server. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to enter my username. Even though my name is Ken, we're going to go ahead and enter Earl, and then we'll go ahead and enter our password. Now to keep things simple, when we're typing on a tablet, I like to keep the passwords really simple, just as a helpful tip for anybody that's doing this, because sometimes it's really hard to type on certain tablets. This tablet happens to make things easy, but other tablets may be a little bit more difficult to do this on. Once you have your username and password set up, you're going to go ahead and log in. Now you should already have a username and password pre-configured through RWriter Touch command, which we will cover in a later webinar. When it first launches, you're going to notice I have 5 tabs. Now these tabs are all indicative of what you set in RWriter Touch command. Now this is my typical service writer setup. So you'll notice that Earl has ROs, estimates, new RO, new estimate, shop pulse. The only thing missing from the screen here is going to be the time clock. Now you'll notice this big bar down here at the bottom. This is the shop pulse tab. If I select the shop pulse tab, it's going to open up and show us our daily sales. Now I don't have any sales going today, but if I did, I would be able to view my progress in a nice little neat grid metric. And if I click on the summary tab, it will actually display the dollar amounts that I have open in RWriter Touch right now. And this is a really nice way to manage your current statuses of all the repair orders that you have in the shop. It'll also show you your finalized sales, your open sales as well. You go ahead and click home. That will take you back out to the main screen. Now from this main screen, we can do a couple of different things here. We can either jump into new ROs and new estimates, or we can look at ROs and estimates that we've already created. But right now what I'm going to do is create a new estimate. To create a new estimate, you're going to select that new estimate tab, and then we're going to search for the customer. So we'll go ahead and search for Mr. Jones. We'll hit search. Now it's finding a bunch of people by the name Jones. What's nice about RWriter Touch is too, I don't have to search by Jones. If I know his first name and I can say Brad, I can search by the first name and it'll find Brad Jones just the same. Let's go ahead and hit back here. And I definitely know his last name is Jones, but he's a new customer, so we're going to hit search and we'll hit this green bar up at the top here and type in first name, which is Chris. And then we'll enter the address. And then we'll go ahead and enter the zip code as well. Hit search and you'll see it populates everything nice and neat there. We'll go ahead and adjust that phone number here. And then if I wanted to, we can also enter the email. And this is my actual email, so if you have any questions after this webinar is over, go ahead and take this email down, so feel free to shoot me any questions you may have after we're complete. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now it's prompting me for vehicle information. Now this is where it gets really exciting because there's a couple of different things we can do here. We can either just jump right into entering the VIN number like we normally would if we were writing it on a piece of paper. We can look it up by the license plate, or we can go ahead and scan the VIN number. And now if I hit scan VIN, it's going to ask me if I have a 5-megapixel camera, and you can see we have our nice little flash logo here, but that's not a VIN number, so that's not going to work. So we can just hit that red X and it'll take us back out to the main screen. But for today, what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and click on the VIN lookup by license plate, and we'll go ahead and type in the license plate here. And then as long as we have the correct state in here, we should be able to hit VIN lookup. There we go. Now it provided us an error. Now that typically could mean one of two things. Our EPICOR is not up to date, or we don't have the correct server. In any event, that's okay. We can go ahead and enter the vehicle. Now, this happens to be a little bit newer vehicle. Some of the new vehicles aren't quite loaded in Epicor just yet, so that could be an issue on that end. So we'll go ahead and enter the cruise. I'll enter my engine, and then I typically don't enter my mileage in right here because watch what's going to happen. When I hit Save Vehicle, it's going to prompt me to enter my mileage. So in the event of saving and doing things twice, I'll just hit Save Vehicle so I can go ahead and enter that mileage, and then we'll go ahead and do just that. So we have 5,000 miles on this vehicle. We'll hit OK. Now it's going to open us up into the service request. Now this is really more or less for the service writer. So why is the customer in today? Well, they want to get the brakes checked. And we can hit say making noise, and then we can save that request. Now you definitely want to make sure you hit save, because if you do not hit save, you are not going to be able to save the information in there. Once you hit save, you can then move on to the next request, which will be services. Now services is pretty neat. We can do a couple different things here. We can either change the status of the repair order, and we can move it to dropped off, estimate complete, or any that you've predefined in RWriter. This is not exclusive to RWriter Touch. This is pulling directly out of the RWriter database. Hit cancel. We have quick jobs. Now I only programmed one quick job in my database, but if you like, you can program up to 20 quick jobs that are available to you. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my miscellaneous labor. Now when I add this to the ticket, what I can do is also assign this to a technician. So if I tap on the technician, I'll see a list of my available technicians. And then let's go ahead and assign Bart Smith to that ticket. So I can go ahead and hit save, or I can add comments. Now, if there's something specific about this vehicle, I can just say, grinding sound from front brakes. And then we can go ahead and hit save. That will save those comments directly to that labor line. It will basically append it to the description of the labor line for the technician to look at. Now you're going to notice that something different just popped up. If we look at the very bottom here where the checklist is, you'll see that there's a little 1 notification. Now that 1 notification signifies that we have a checklist available, and you'll see we have an oil change on this ticket, and the red will indicate that the oil change is incomplete. Now if I tap on the oil change, it's going to open up to a list of descriptions here and items that are on my ticket here. So you can see there's roughly about 15 items on this oil change checklist. Now when you create your checklist in Touch Command, you can create about as many items as you want. Now I would typically say don't go over 40, because you got to keep in mind that a technician is going to go through these and inspect this. And in order for this to go green, the technician is going to need to inspect every single item. If one item's missed, this location here is going to say red. So let's go ahead and click on that. And just to show you how this works on this particular application, you'll notice that there's a legend down at the bottom that will indicate which way you need to swipe. If the technician checked the air filter and it was good, we would go ahead and swipe to the right. If there was an issue with, let's say, the transmission fluid, we can swipe to the left, and then we can recommend, or we can say maybe it was leaking. And then we can go back out to the list. And again, it's very easy because we're just using our finger and just ever so slightly sliding across the screen, which makes this nice and easy. So again, we could just go through a couple of these, and let's get to the belts. Maybe we have an issue with the belt. Let's go ahead and click on the belt. And we'll say that we're recommending it. Let's go back to the list. We can also add a note, and we can say the belt is cracked. Then we can go back out to the list. Now we go back out to the list, we want to take a photo of maybe that cracked belt. Maybe it's really fray and really bad, and the customer's not on site to where we can, he can physically see it or she can physically see it. So let's go ahead and take a photo of that, and we'll take a new image, and then let's go ahead and take a picture of that Power Ranger. Boom. All right, and we're going to use that photo. It looks good to me. And then we'll go ahead and hit save. Now that image is added and also timestamps and dates it, and it's going to get stored on your server. We'll go back. You'll now notice that where the belt once was, we now have 2 green icons, one indicating that we have a photo, and the second one indicating that we have a note. Let's continue on going through the courtesy inspection until it's complete so we can get that green check mark. So we're going to go ahead, and everything else looked really great on the vehicle, and we can go back. You'll now notice that we've completed the courtesy inspection. The icon has now gone green, which signifies that it's complete. Now, you'll also get a notification in RWriter Touch command that the notification here is complete. The checklist is complete and done, so they'll get the same green notification within RO Touch command. So if I was a service writer, I would know, hey, let's take a look at that courtesy inspection and see what the technicians recommended. Now, the very last tab here in RWriter Touch is the More tab. So when we open this More tab up, we can look at things such as RWriter Service History. If there was any history on a vehicle, it will appear here under Labor and Parts. It breaks it out into two separate lines for convenience. We can also look at anything that was ever declined on a vehicle. So any declined work will appear here. Any notes that we've taken on the RO from RWriter, we also have access to here as well. And what's really nice about the notes section is watch when I put a note in here. We'll say maybe the customer just had their windows tinted and we want to put a note on the vehicle. And we can say new tint, and we'll hit save. Well, it's now going to add a notification here so we can actually go back and look. Now, if the service writer adds a note from RWriter, it's also going to send a notification here, because if you look at the bottom, we have a notification. That's a persistent notification, and it's going to draw the attention of the technician to go ahead and look at that. Now, the second section here is called Service History for Car Fax, and we're going to go ahead and open that up. And again, we're not subscribed to Car Fax. I do apologize, guys. For some reason, this server is not functioning with that. But normally what we would get here is our Car Fax service history. Again, images that we've taken will also store here. And you can see that image that we've taken. And what's really nice about the images, if I click home, we can bump this setting up to take higher resolution photos on this application. So if we want to take a more detailed photo, all I got to do is slide this image bar all the way up, and we can take full 1080p resolution photos. Now, when you're taking pictures and you're going through the normal checklist, you want to make sure that you're taking a picture of everything, because the more images you have, the harder it's going to be to email this to the customer. So 3 or 4 photos should be fine, but if you're taking a photo of every single line, there may be an issue sending an email. So let's go ahead and click in ROs. So this is what we call our service writer view, where I'm able to see all the ROs and I can click into the RO and view it. Well, let's say if I'm logged in as a technician. Well, we have a view here called Tech View. So when I click on this again, I can look at all my technicians that are currently logged into RWriter. And let's click on Bill Fosterman. He has 4 jobs. So Bill is going to look at RWriter like so. It's a technician view. If Bill needed to start on this install front brake pads and machine rotors, I can just go ahead and hit the time clock and punch myself into that job. And let's say if I wanted to punch myself into the full service oil change, let's go ahead and click that. Now I have my RWriter set up to where I can punch in on more than one job. So you can see I can punch in and out with ease. Now if I'm finished with the job, it's just as simple as clicking the check mark. The check mark will mark the job finished. Pretty straightforward and simple. Now as a technician, if I need to get into access more information about the repair order, just clicking the blue line will bring me into the repair order, and we can see here some service requests and notes. I can also look at any services that are added to the ticket. Let's talk about this screen for a little bit. So if we look, we can see the parts. We have brake pads, and we also have a disc hardware kit, and they are all in stock. Anything with a red end would indicate that that part is not in stock and needs to be ordered. Now, if we ever get a green O, that means the part was ordered and has been posted and is now physically in the building. You'll also notice off to the top-hand side here, we have 1.6. That indicates how much time is actually on this ticket. And if we look at install front disc brake pads, that's taken 1.4 hours. And if we look at the full service oil change, that it's taken 0.2. So this is a new feature that was added to 1.4 to display the hours. If there was a checklist, again, the checklist would go under this section here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on Home and click on Settings, because I want to talk a little bit more about the Settings tab. If you ever need to change your data location, if your IP address should happen to change, you can easily change the data location right from the Settings tab. You'll also notice that you can log out of this anytime you like, and there's also a multiple connection. So if we have multiple stores and we want to run RO Touch at each location, we can have multiple locations set up if I was an owner and I wanted to toggle through my stores to see what they were doing each day. That is an option that is available. It's just as simple as clicking the name, enter in the data location, and you're good to go. The name just indicates which store we're actually toggling to. And then again, we have our save button, and we're going to click home.